My name is Travis Nesterovich, and I live at 122 5th Avenue Southwest. This is my first time coming to a meeting, so I apologize ahead of time if it's a little bit jumbled. I didn't really have a specific point to talk about, so I've been making notes about all the presentations before me. There's been a couple of people who have talked about drunk driving, texting and driving, and compared it to the use of marijuana with driving. There have been studies to show that those who use on a regular basis actually have better reaction times than those who use on a occasional basis, meaning that you do adapt to it. It's not something that's going to debilitate you every time you do it. There is absolutely a delayed reaction time, but majority of people who do smoke and drive are actually more cautious because they're aware of themselves. Drunk drivers lose focus on their faculties, they get tunnel vision, they have an actual inability to process information. There was a comment made earlier about the sale concern ending at the door. You don't expect the people who sell you groceries to care what you do with those groceries. They don't care if you buy eggs and make an omelet, if you scramble them, or if you fry them. It is not a company's responsibility what you do with what you've purchased, so long as they have sold it to you legally, which I don't see to be a problem. Anyone who is not over the age of 21 and does not have valid ID for a legal state is not able to purchase marijuana in a retail store, meaning that anyone who is getting it that does not meet those qualifications is doing it illegally, and keeping it illegal from a recreational standpoint is not going to change that. As the previous person spoke up about, the funding spent on this is rather ridiculous. I'm a firm believer that everyone has a right to do with their body what they please. They do not have a right to go out and interfere with someone else's life, though. You can sit in your house and smoke your weed, drink your alcohol. That is not my concern. But when you exit your house and proceed to endanger others, that becomes an issue, and that is a responsibility for law enforcement. They should be out in force, catching people who are driving under the influence. It is quite obvious. There was a statute set in place regarding the amount of THC in blood content that was considered under the influence. Cannot remember that number offhand, but it is easily locatable on the internet. One of the opposed had mentioned the potential for it to be a business hub, and this is absolutely true. Properly regulated, it will generate a lot of revenue for the city, which can be used for repairing sidewalks, keeping the schools running efficiently, healthcare for anyone who's in need of it, welfare systems. A whole bunch of public good can come out of it, and the only negative that can come out of it is when people don't follow the rules that are set in place. That is not a reason to not have the rules in place. That is a reason to make sure that the definitions of those rules are clear. Another point that was brought up was that we are not ready for this to be at the forefront of the experiment. If everyone had that mentality, this wouldn't be an issue. Nobody would ever consider it, or any other issue for that matter. Theft was also brought up. The theft for the purchase or the theft of the product is a result of a person's inability to control their own actions, and is generally something that you will see out of impulsive people. Moderation in all things. It is not our job to force moderation. It is our job to punish people who cannot moderate themselves and commit crimes. I'm very much against the trying to punish people ahead of time, essentially. I don't like restrictions on what I can do. I like punishment for doing things I'm not supposed to do, things that interfere with other people's lives. That's really all that I have to say on the matter. I'm absolutely for recreational and medical use of marijuana as long as it's properly regulated, and we have plenty of examples with which we can draw basic regulations and then add on to or modify as necessary for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I add my name to that, please?
Certainly can.
There's no more.
Okay, you're next.
Want to get my eyes on. Don Thompson, 416 2nd Avenue Southeast Pacific. I was on the committee for fact-finding of medical and recreational marijuana. I see in these ordinances there are some points brought out that I run across but couldn't find again. One was Department of Justice has given Colorado and Washington a yellow light on marijuana, not a green light. They're saying, yeah, you can play with it under certain restrictions. Well, if anybody seen the news last night, Colorado's got a big problem in their hands. The marijuana is crossing into the other states. The police departments in the other states, the minute they see a Colorado license plate, they pull them over, checking for marijuana. Now, those people in Washington don't realize that. You go to Oregon, Idaho, Canada, they're going to pull us over for the same reason, okay? I am against having any marijuana processed, grown, or sold in this town. That's not going to stop the people who want to use it. They're going to go other towns, they're going to come here, they're going to smoke in their homes and drive and this kind of stuff. We keep comparing marijuana to alcohol. Marijuana and alcohol have two different effects on the human body. But when you mix them, you just compound the problem. We talked about medical marijuana if it's properly regulated. When will that happen? There's absolutely no regulation on medical marijuana at all right now. None. And that's why we have issues going on in our own town with quote-unquote dispensaries. Recreational marijuana, processing, growing, and retail sales, yeah, that's regulated by the state. But who's enforcing those regulations? It's not state police, it's local police. Where's the taxes coming from? Where's the money coming from? The cities receive absolutely no money except a very, very small percentage of the B&O tax. It's not going to cover the additional police department for the overtime. We just went through an era of high overtime in our police department. It costs us a lot of money. Do we want to do that again? I say, ban it all. Until such time that there's evidence that the federal government's not going to come in and say, bye-bye, boys, or regulations are reinforced and the state is willing to pay for them. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Getting pretty warm back there, guys? You want to crank up the air, and we'll promise we'll talk louder.
I'll go on the list. Hopefully I'll be the last one. I know you're probably tired of hearing. So, Rona Smith.
You can put it on the list there, too.
Rona Smith, 415 3rd at Southeast. I just have 5 points. I'm a medical marijuana user. I use it because I have chronic back pain and I don't want to have surgery because they don't know if that will make a difference. Keeping it medically available keeps the cost down. As it goes to retail, it's going to cost me more. My insurance doesn't cover that yet. Okay, number 2, I'm 50 years old. I've been driving for 35 years. I drive cars, I haul a 37-foot fifth wheel, and I ride motorcycles. I have never had an accident, and I'm a cautious driver, a good driver. I don't think that this affects my ability out on the road. I don't feel like any of you are in danger when I'm in a car or on my motorcycle. Third point, I raised 3 children. They're 31, 27, and 24. Neither of them do drugs, they do not marijuana, and they don't smoke cigarettes. So having that influence didn't seem to be an issue with them. Number 4, I do suggest that you keep it separate, medical versus retail, smart. And as far as infrastructure goes, what kind of impact? Well, I don't think that that's always an issue when they're building house tracks and you're opening other businesses. So I don't see how a couple of shops in the community would make a difference. So those are my 5 items.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Any more speakers?
James Dusick, 898 Valentine Avenue, Southeast. I own Downtown Cannabis Company. I've been working with the city, as all you guys know, for a long time, and I always appreciate
Can you use the mic now?
I always appreciate the time you give me and things like that. I request the planning committee not consider the recreational marijuana ban option. The verbiage in Councilman Walker's and Stiegler's marijuana ban implies no work has been done to investigate impacts on the city. CEPA has already been performed months ago for the initial interim zoning, as far as I know. I believe it came back reporting no detrimental environmental impacts, as far as I know. Also, the city spent months researching concerns and facts through the marijuana work group. The voters of Pacific spoke when they largely voted in favor of I-502 in 2012. There was a 70% voter turnout. 55% voted in favor of licensed and taxing highly regulated marijuana businesses. Every precinct in the city voted in favor of I-502. A ban goes directly against the will of the voters within the city of Pacific. As part of the Pacific City Council Commission's marijuana work group, we took concerns the city had and provided unbiased research and supporting facts that backed up or discredited those concerns. The result of the work group determined there would be little or no negative effect on the city by allowing licensed recreational marijuana in certain zoned areas. Even the medical, there has been literally one maybe minor incident with those guys. I mean, there's like nothing. We can't let the uninformed and people with deep-rooted prejudices against marijuana counteract all the fact-based work the marijuana work group compiled. If a ban is passed, I will have no choice but to challenge the ban in court. That's the last thing I want to do. I've spent so much time trying to work and discuss and work things out with everybody. But please remember, I had already applied for the producer-processor license and leased a building as required by the Liquor Control Board months before any ordinance or interim ordinance related to recreational marijuana was passed within the city of Pacific. November 20th, 2013 to be exact. With the majority of registered voters voting in favor of I-502, how are they going to feel knowing the city is ignoring their vote, wasting valuable tax dollars fighting the business that resulted from the initiative they voted to approve? I'm sure the money would be better spent on police and parks rather than going to lawyers. Also, please remember, there's already marijuana being grown all over your community and the entire state. The licensed recreational I-502 businesses are designed to get rid of the black market and bring all of the marijuana production, processing, and sales under one highly regulated roof, regulated and controlled by the Liquor Control Board. I will say one more time, please do not consider a ban on recreational marijuana. Thank you.
Any more speakers?
Yeah, one more.
Jeff Brown, 6523 Myers Road East, Sumner, Washington. And 425-891-2031. Okay, I've sat back and heard a lot of people speaking. Some good, some fact-based, some not so much. What I'd like to say is banning medical recreational marijuana would be irresponsible. I've heard a lot of things said where we shouldn't do it because people text and drive. We shouldn't have it because drunk drivers. None of that has to do anything with marijuana. The fact is, marijuana helps a lot of people. Medically, it's a fact. We've heard, look it up on the internet. Internet's never wrong. We get all our information. Okay. Charlotte's Web, newspaper story. 6-year-old girl in, I believe it was St. Louis. 200 epileptic seizures a day. Medical marijuana reduced that. Those are facts. You know, that's not anything that you look up on the internet and think that it might be true. Tacoma opened up their first store last week, I think it was. And a soldier moved up from Alabama, was considering Colorado, decided not to go to Colorado, came to Washington. Prefers to use medical marijuana over the drugs that they prescribe him. Those are facts. As I said, irresponsible to ban something that helps. And I'm sure there's people on this council that have had family members affected, as well as help from the use of medical marijuana. And to say that we shouldn't have it because somebody was texting and driving, or I'm afraid to drive down a 2-lane road, irresponsible. The ban needs to not go through. That's all I have.
Okay, you want me to this gentleman back here, and then you're that. Write your name and then also, somebody stole the pen. I did.
Donnie.
Oh,
Is it cooled off sufficiently?
It's, you guys okay? Can we shut down the air
It's
again?
really difficult to hear.
Okay.
My name's Anthony Pritchard. Live 415 3rd Avenue Southeast, down by the park. Your town's got a lot of problems. I've lived here, I believe, since '88. And I've kept quiet. There's a lot of issues about human rights that have been pushed aside when they put the bike trail. We lost our park in front of our home, the RVs. So this is a good one for you to take on if you're ready. Because there's people out here that are willing to go all the way and fight for our human rights here, and I'm one. I'm a disabled Vietnam veteran. I spent almost a year in the hospital with my legs paralyzed. I've done good, but bad kidneys, bad liver, and everything from all the medicines they've given me. I'm not happy with that at all. And I go back to the doctors, and they can't give me no more surgeries. I've had my tailbone removed, I've had discs removed, I got plates, I got screws. I have involuntary, spasms that I can't control. This does help me. I'm not a fact anywhere. This is it, folks. I'm one of those people that I need it. Don't take my rights away. And read all the facts. Because I don't think this town can afford a big lawsuit or anything like that. Let's take the common road and learn from our experience here and watch and learn. It's a lesson for us all. We're all going through it in this state. But you guys are leaders. I think it's time to step forward and act that role. And I really, really am for this legalization. Everybody that grows it at home, whatever, I'm for it. Because that's how we know it's right. There's no chemicals in it. Not like your alcohol. Not like the pills they're giving us. This is organic. This is from nature. You're worrying about a weed. This is almost silly. I think that you're wasting the money right now, the city's money, for things that could be used better. And I think you just need to take 2 steps back and be wise. There's the lesson. Because you get something out of this, you're going to have everybody here on your side. It's the winner's path. So please listen to the people that need it. Let's get it on, the ballot and do it right. Thank you for your time.
My name is Cheryl Tyree. I live at 230 Skinner Road
Can you move the mic a little closer?
In Pacific, Washington. I've lived here since 79 or 72, 74, somewhere in there, a long time. And I have a concern for particularly the children and the young adults that live in this community, which would be probably taking things recreationally, not for health reasons. But I do know that often they are encouraged to take, without their knowledge, something that's going to affect them for the rest of their life. And one of those things is these things that are sold at stores, and they're called candies. Marijuana candies. And they can come in and buy them, or they can be given them by their friends. And they are not regulated as to how much is in which one. And they also can cause a lot of damage. There are children who will have mind problems. They grow up with it as long as they can continue living. They grow up with it. They have problems with unwanted pregnancies because of being under duress or whatever by others who are making them participate in it. I know that there are deaths because of it, and I also know from listening to others, and I am around a lot of other people, that there are deaths. I already mentioned that, but I can't exactly remember what I was going to say. I didn't write it down. I remember now, talking with other people, those who are even bosses in workplaces, who say that these people who have used it on a regular basis cannot function as well as others do. Others who have not used it do not have the problem. They can figure and they can work the machinery and they can do what's needed. But those who have used this on a regular basis are limited and have problems. I've talked to others who say that they're always having to call the cops or whatever because somebody is out of hand and they've gotten into problems that way. So, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Anybody else?
Gary Mischke, 102 Food Avenue. I support outright ban on all of it at this time.
Anybody else? Does anybody have any questions for the planning commission?
I have one more comment.
Sure.
Sorry, came in late.
That's okay.
I'm John Schindler, live on 51st Avenue South, and I agree with freedom. There was a libertarian that spoke earlier, but our views diverge. I think the community should be free from the city of Pacific, specifically, for having marijuana represented here in establishments that sell or promote the use of it, simply because the risks are too great. If there was a gun issue, I think half the room would turn and everyone would be against it. Why? Because there is an inherent risk with guns. Now, does that mean that people in the room who would support that may be responsible gun owners. I believe that. I believe people who have said they're responsible users are probably responsible users. That doesn't mean everyone who comes in contact with that substance, with that instrument, will use it wisely. That becomes a risk to the community and a great risk to me, a great risk to my kids who I'm raising in this community. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any more